Dato-dato, datin-datin, distinguished guest speakers, panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Peace Talk webinar series hosted by Universal Peace Federation, UPF Malaysia, in conjunction with the UN World Interfaith Harmony Week, International Day of Fraternity, and launching of Interreligious Association of Peace and Development, IAPD. The theme of the webinar is COVID-19, Pathways Forward, working together for national prosperity and happiness. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the speakers who will be with us in session 1. So first, from Nepal, Honorable Anak Dakal. Okay, next will be, all right, hi, Honorable Anak Dakal. Namaste. Okay, next, from Germany, Mrs. Ursula McLachlan, far away from Germany. Okay, then from Malaysia, we have from Selangor, Mr. Lai Peng Kiong. Hi, Mr. Lai. Okay, then from Kuala Lumpur, Mr. Sudesh Balasubramaniam. Okay, so welcome, 4 of you. Okay, now our webinar officially begins with the welcoming remarks from our President of Universal Peace Federation, Malaysia. So please allow me to introduce him. Mr. Sudesh Balasubramaniam is the founding member and current President of Universal Peace Federation of Malaysia. Mr. Sudesh was appointed as an ambassador for peace in recognition for his work with the community, addressing peace building, strengthening marriage and family, and community service projects. A civil engineer in initial training from USA, he later obtained an MBA from the University of South Australia. He carries with him over 25 years of experience in higher education management. So without further ado, let us welcome Mr. Sudesh Balasubramaniam.
Mr. Simon Teo. You can hear me, right? I just want to be sure that you can hear me. All right, very good. Honorable Anak Dakal, Regional Chairman of UPF Asia Pacific. His Excellency Stefan Pesna, UN Resident Coordinator for Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei Darussalam. Mrs. Ursula McLachlan, Coordinator of IAPD Asia Pacific, Secretary General of UPF Asia Pacific, Mr. Lai Peng Kiong, National Director of UPF for Asia, Malaysia, Dr. Amir Farid Sahab, Chairman of Interfaith Spiritual Fellowship in staff, who will be also serving as our panel moderator. And then our respected panelists, Dr. Azman Amin bin Hassan, who is the former chairman of the National Committee for the Promotion of Interreligious Understanding and Harmony Among Adherents, AKM-PKA, Dr. Radia Binti Salim, founder and president of Club Hill. We're very happy that you could join us from Singapore. Mr. Chin Hauzet, National Youth Executive Committee of Federation of Hakka Association Malaysia, and Youth Chairman of Hakka Association Penang. UPF Board of Advisors and Council members, distinguished guests, ambassadors for peace, and all participants of today's webinar. A very good evening, and thank you for joining us for the first UPF Malaysia webinar for 2021. Humanity is facing an unprecedented time when the nations and world's challenges are aggravated further by the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you imagine this tiny, almost invisible, or rather invisible to the naked eye, COVID-19 virus has forced all of us to eat the humble pie. A very important lesson for humanity in humility, that economic, military, and technological might no longer matters. I would like to quote you from a speech that the Director General of the World Health Organization made in last year's assembly. And this is what he said. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought out the best and the worst of humanity and has exposed the fault lines, inequalities, injustices, and contradictions of our modern world. Ladies and gentlemen, we live at a time when many of our brothers and sisters, not only in this nation of Malaysia, but all around the world, have lost loved ones. Many have lost their livelihoods. And hundreds of millions of people worldwide, including many in Malaysia, have lost their jobs. In this kind of circumstances, much fear and uncertainty is all around us. That is the unfortunate landscape the pandemic has brought to this world. So this is the time, more than ever, for us to work together beyond our differences. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time that we come together to explore the possibilities of cooperation that benefit us as a human family, rather than to risk it all by stoking seeds of division, hatred, and disunity. It is with this objective that UPF Malaysia is organizing today's webinar with the theme COVID-19 Pathways Forward, working together for national prosperity and happiness. The key here is working together. This webinar is also held in conjunction with the UN Interfaith Harmony Week and International Day of Fraternity. I believe it creates an ideal platform to hear from our learned panelists and discover ways that we can promote dialogue and understanding as we face the challenges of the pandemic together. Today's webinar also forms a perfect setting to launch the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, IAPD, Malaysia. Fundamentally, ladies and gentlemen, we need to ask ourselves this question: what sort of nation, for the matter, what sort of world do we want to live in? Everything starts from this question. So, as peacemakers and ambassadors for peace, ladies and gentlemen, our inspiration here in UPF comes from our founders, Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Mrs. Hak Jahan Moon. They have dedicated their whole life to world peace. They call for us to live together as one global family. Ladies and gentlemen, it is in that vision and spirit that we are called to see and treat one another with respect, humility, need to be cooperative, lend a helping hand when in need to our neighbor. And as leaders, our role as leaders is to create or evoke a national climate with policies that promote such a living environment where every citizen lives together, caring for one another. Last year, ladies and gentlemen, when the pandemic hit the shores of our nation, UPF Malaysia quickly reorganized its planned activities and mobilized its peacemakers to the front line to provide much needed relief to the needy through the Circle of Light community relief effort. More than 5,000 B40 families benefited to receiving much needed food and home supplies. And these efforts continue with the voluntary spirit of all the members in UPF. This is a small example, ladies and gentlemen, of what we can do together when we put our hearts on resolving the crisis with the spirit of living for the sake of others. Imagine if the whole nation and world moves in that same spirit of altruism and brings hope and relief to those in need. This is the kind of possibilities UPF is working on. On behalf of UPF Malaysia, I would like to thank all the guests and the panelists for their time and contributions towards this webinar. And thank you to all those who are participating this evening. Thank you for joining us today. And I sincerely pray for you and your loved ones. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sudesh, for your welcoming remarks. You asked a very important questions. An important questions for us. What sort of nation we want to be living? A life peace, life of togetherness, humanity, cooperation. And I think this is a life of living for the sake of others. Thank you, Mr. Sudesh, for your wonderful remarks. Next, for the keynote remarks, it is my honor to introduce Honorable Anak Dakal. He is a Nepalese social and peace activist. He graduated from Tribhuvan University in Kathmandu, majoring in sociology and anthropology. He served twice as a member of the Nepalese Constituent Assembly and Legislature Parliament from 2008 to 2017. He also served twice as cabinet member, including most recently as Minister for Peace and Reconstruction in the government of Nepal. Honorable Dakal is also the governor of South Asia Peace Initiative Corps, SAPI, and the global vice president of Sun Moon University, Korea. For his notable work, he has received various national and international awards, including Constitutional Decoration from the President of Nepal and the Stockholm Peace Award, among others. Honorable Dakal is the regional chairman of the Universal Peace Federation Asia Pacific and the chairman of International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace in the same Asia Pacific region. Please give your attention to Honorable Anak Dakal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simon, Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, President of UPF Malaysia, Sir Sudesh, respected religious leaders, dear participants. It is a great honor to speak in front of distinguished guests and highly respected faith leaders on behalf of the Universal Peace Federation Asia Pacific and our co-founders, Father and Mother Moon. I express our gratitude to all of you for taking your time to participate in this conference. Thank you for joining. The theme of the webinar, COVID-19, Pathways Forward, Working Together for National Prosperity and Happiness, is timely. I am confident that each speaker will be offering their insights and reflections on this topic largely from a moral and spiritual perspective, giving their views on the current situation and our way forward for peace and prosperity. Building a peacefully unified world through interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values is one of the UPF's primary objectives. The world, however, has drifted increasingly and secular in nature. People are losing sight of the profound wisdom to be found in humanity's spiritual heritage. The IAPD, Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, believes that the great religions of the world have a vital contribution to make if we are to achieve peace in our lifetime. One of the major principles of UPF is peace comes through interreligious dialogue and harmony. IAPD is one of the UPF's primary associations dedicated to these very ideals. UPF believes that teamwork among religious leaders and faith based organizations is a key in solving today's religious conflict and paving the way forward to lasting peace. In this time and age, especially with the pandemic that we are all living in, faith plays a big role in every human being. As a humans, we have a tendency to search for a community and search for a higher purpose, and that is something that faith provides. No amount of money or power can compete with how important faith is to a faith driven person. This is exactly why the faith based organizations play an extremely vital role in supporting individuals not only in the times of triumph but also in the time of crisis. This is why our beloved UPF founders, Reverend Dr. Son Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, have dedicated their lives to encourage discourse between different faith groups in the promotion of interfaith harmony worldwide. They even proposed to the United Nations the establishment of an interfaith council to foster peace in the world. Recently, Mother Moon established IAPD and planned a series of conferences to address the issues that are religious in nature. Even during the period of a pandemic, UPF chapters worldwide, like today, organize a number of IAPD webinars bringing various faith and traditions in solidarity to fight against COVID-19 and its effect. UPF has been fostering partnership between government and civil society as a new model of peace building in the 21st century. UPF Summit Series, as we shown in the video presentation, held in all continents in the world, are examples, among others, of our commitment to create a better society. The rallies of hope organized amidst the COVID-19 pandemic has brought all leaders together to fight against the pandemic and to usher into a new era of unified world of peace. Keynote speakers at the rallies of hope include current and former presidents and prime ministers, top leaders of the United Nations, the European Union, the African Union, and Nobel Peace Prize laureates, among others. One of the dream projects of our founder in our Asia Pacific region is the establishment of the Asia Pacific Union to usher into a new era of unified, peaceful, and prosperous Asia Pacific. UPF's 7 primary associations relating with the heads of state and government, first ladies, parliamentarians, interfaith dialogue, academics, economics, media, and arts are convening their activities to realize the hope of all ages, a unified world of peace. UPF's Northeast Asia Peace Initiative and Think Tank 2022 project are dedicated to the peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. With this in mind, UPF organized a variety of programs that bring together leading experts from wide range of professional fields, the government, academics, civil society, faith-based organizations, the media, business, and arts to explore the prospects for improved relation not only between two Koreas but among the other stakeholder countries of the region. UPF's upcoming fifth Rally of Hope to be held during the second week of this month will feature messages of peace from all leaders, including various faiths and traditions. We invite all of you to participate. With this great panel of respected speakers that we have today, I am certain that we will achieve healthy discourse among interfaith groups that will turn into concrete actions in the future. Thank you for your participation. So please stay safe and healthy. And also thank you so much UPF Malaysia for organizing this IAPD webinar, and congratulations for the launching of IAPD Malaysia and organizing this special webinar in conjunction with United Nations Interfaith Harmony Week and also International Day of Fraternity. Thank you so much. I conclude here.
Thank you so much to our Honorable Edna Dakal for your keynote remarks. Now we can see a model of the unified world peace involving parliamentarians, business, academicians, and religions. Dear all, as we know, this week is the week of interfaith peace and harmony promotion. It is an initiative, namely World Interfaith Harmony Week, WIHW, by United Nations. For celebrating this special occasion, it is my honor to have His Excellency Stephen Prisner to convey his special message for us. Please allow me to introduce him. His Excellency Stephen Prisner is the United Nations Resident Coordinator for Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei Darussalam. He holds a Master of Arts in International Relations from the Johns Hopkins University and a Master of Law from the University of Vienna. His Excellency has extensive experience in international development and management issues and has been working with the United Nations since 1996. He was assigned to Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei Darussalam since May 2017. His Excellency has provided policy advice to governments and overseen the formulation and delivery of a range of development programs in close partnerships with government. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Your Excellency Stephen Prisoner.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is indeed a privilege to celebrate with all of you the World Interfaith Harmony Week 2021, which is an annual event observed during the first week of February. And for 2021, the UN Secretary General, based on his meetings with religious leaders, will launch the inaugural International Day of Human Fraternity tomorrow on February the 4th. This day calls on us to promote the culture of peace and non-violence based on education, dialogue, and cooperation. So this event couldn't be more timely. 2020 was a global annus horribilis, a horrible year of death, disaster, and despair. In 2021, we hopefully see the light through vaccines. However, the pandemic has left a legacy with deepened inequality, but also with disrupted social cohesion, riddled with hate speech, xenophobia, discrimination, and racism. I commend UPF for organizing this important event during this time. All religious institutions play an important role, both with and within each other, as an agent of change. That time of change has come. As we rebuild from the havoc created by COVID-19, we must build back better for global and national prosperity, but also for global solidarity. We now have the opportunity to secure the well-being of people, economies, societies, and our planet. And this is why the Sustainable Development Goals are more important than ever. We can do this together. Ladies and gentlemen, religion has played an important role throughout our history. It creates common ground for peace and love to flourish if we focus on what is noble and right. Harnessing religion and its institutions for the greater good, for peace and for development is the reason we commemorate World Interfaith Harmony Week. For there can be no development where there is no peace. We have seen many nations, once prosperous and peaceful, now ravaged by conflict that have regressed or halted development for years. And peace can never be taken for granted. There's always a need to make concerted efforts towards strengthening social cohesion, mutual respect, and understanding in the communities and countries that we live in. It's a bit like a marriage where there must be understanding and tolerance. This is especially true in a country such as Malaysia, where a diverse social fabric with peoples from various ethnicities, religions, and cultures is a unique feature. This is what makes this nation so special and beautiful, and it should be celebrated and cherished. And importantly, all religions recognize dignity as the core of humanity. And this, in fact, is a common denominator with the universal values of the United Nations, which always put human dignity at the center. Our most important document, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, starts by saying that, I quote, "The recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world, unquote. We have indeed seen a link between the upholding of human rights and the absence of conflicts in societies, or reversely, the link between mass human rights violations and conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, before I end, I would like to congratulate UPF on the launching of the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, or IAPD, Malaysia, later in this event. I believe that the IAPD will have a critical role to play in social cohesion and interfaith harmony in this wonderful country through public awareness and working for the common good, and supporting the SDGs to build a peaceful and inclusive future for all. We must make it happen together. I wish you an insightful webinar tonight.
Thank you, His Excellency, for sharing us with such meaningful remarks. UPF Malaysia will continue promoting peace and harmony, supporting United Nations SDGs. Okay, now we will have an IAPD presentation focusing on Malaysia region, entitled Aims and Aspiration of IAPD Malaysia. Let me introduce the special remarks from Mr. Lai Peng Kiong. Mr. Lai Peng Kiong is an active social leader in Malaysia. Together with his Taiwanese wife, Mr. and Mrs. Lai have dedicated more than 11 years serving full-time in a number of NGOs. Besides being the National Director of UPF Malaysia, he is also the founder and president of Ajar Ajar Malaysia, an NGO committed in education empowerment and serving the underprivileged children. Not only that, Mr. Lai Peng Kiong is also a passionate and experienced educator in the field related to establishing ideal families and strengthening marriage. So let us welcome Mr. Lai Peng Kiong.
Thank you very much, our host, the young and energetic Mr. Simon, for your great introduction. A very good evening to all our distinguished guests, Honorable Eknan Dakal, His Excellency Stephen Prisner, Mrs. Ursula McLachlan, Mr. Sudesh Balasubramaniam, Ambassador for Peace, all panelists, peace-loving leaders, and ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great honor to initiate the launching of Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, IAPD, here in Malaysia in conjunction with the United Nations World Interfaith Harmony Week. I would like to share to all of you about the aim and aspiration of IAPD Malaysia and what we are going to do in the future. So allow me to share my PowerPoint. Ladies and gentlemen, IAPD is one of the 6 pillars, or also known as the primary association under Universal Peace Federation. IAPD International was founded in year 2017 in Korea and launched in 6 continents around the world in 2018. And ladies and gentlemen, finally, we are now launching IAPD in Malaysia in the year 2021. Personally, I think the launching of IAPD in Malaysia is very, very timely as we are facing so many critical issues in Malaysia, which is COVID-19 especially. But not only that, we are also facing family breakdown, corruption, environmental issue, economic instability, poverty, and crime and violence. Among the aims and aspirations of IAPD International, I would like to highlight 2 of the main points, which is very relevant to the critical issue of Malaysia. First, IAPD should develop mutual understanding, mutual prosperity, and universal shared value among religions through education. Second, IAPD should bring together different faiths together for the common goal in solving social issues through community service. My dear brothers and sisters, all of us know our country, Malaysia, is very unique because we are made up of multicultural community. The unity between all races and religion is our greatest strength. We should be proud of our nation and strive to make Malaysia the role model of one human family. I believe that is one of the important mission for this newly launched IAPD Malaysia. Even IAPD is very new, but the good news is we are not starting from zero, as UPF Malaysia has been actively promoting interfaith harmony even since its inauguration in year 2006. We observe United Nations World Interfaith Harmony Week almost every year. Besides this, we also has been organizing educational activity for our youth. We believe that education should not only be cognitive, just as a knowledge, but also should be experiential. So we have organized visit to mosque, church, gurdwara, Hindu and Taoist and Buddhist temple to expose the youth people to all religion. We hope to nurture our youth, the future of our nation, to become the global citizen who can embrace all religion. Ladies and gentlemen, UPF has been holding youth service programs since 1990s. Through the Multicultural Youth Service, MCYS, we bring youth from different religion and races background together. The youth learn to set aside their cultural difference and work together to serve the community through community service. Besides, every year we also engage international students from international universities such as Sammun University of South Korea in leadership and cultural exchange program. We want local and international students to participate in service project, cultural performance, Korean language class, so that they can mix together well, to train them to become a global citizen. So my dear brothers and sisters, last but not least, I sincerely hope IAPD will serve as a platform to promote dialogue, mutual respect, and cooperation between people of different faith or faith-based organization, educational institute, civil society, government, or even United Nations. So this will ensure that we may work more effectively together in solving all the critical issues to build a peaceful and harmonious society and nation. So we are looking forward to work with you in the near future for many of our good projects. So thank you very much to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lai Peng Kiong, the National Director of UPF Malaysia, for your special remarks. Next, we shall have the congratulatory remarks from the coordinator of the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development for the Asia-Pacific region. Let me introduce the next speaker. Mrs. Ursula McLachlan is the Secretary General of Universal Peace Federation in Asia-Pacific region. She's also the coordinator for IAPD for the Asia-Pacific region as well. She was born in Germany, studied psychology in her native country. Following that, she also studied Buddhism at the University of Kelaniya in Sri Lanka. She has been living in Asia since 1974 and has worked for many of the affiliate organizations of UPF. Since then, she has been promoting the education of youth, humanitarian service, and interreligious harmony throughout Asia and including Middle East. So let us welcome Mrs. Ursula McLachlan.
Honorable Ignat Dakal, His Excellency Stefan Trisa, Mr. Sudesh Balasubramaniam, Mr. Lai Peng Kiong, dear and distinguished ambassadors for peace, dear participants and friends, a very good evening. I am very honored to be invited to deliver the congratulatory remarks in this excellent UPF Peace Talk webinar series. The theme is very timely. COVID-19 pathways forward, working together for national prosperity and peace. And I am very impressed by all the work that UPF Malaysia has done over the past years. And I have great confidence that the IAPD Malaysia will greatly contribute to the building of peace and harmony, as well as for prosperity and happiness. Let me now also introduce the wider vision and programs of the IAPD in the Asia-Pacific region, so that we can work together with among the different national chapters of IAPD Asia-Pacific. The IAPD International was called into life at a time of highest tension on the Korean Peninsula. This was in November 2017, when President Trump and President Kim Jong-un were exchanging tirades of slander and accusations against each other. And I think the whole world was afraid that a nuclear war might break out. At this time, our founder, Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, called 400 religious leaders from all around the world and asked them together for peace and unity on the Korean Peninsula. If we pray together and work together for peace, God will surely respond. And amazingly, I think you remember that suddenly we got news that President Trump and Kim Jong-un had agreed to meet in Singapore. Of course, we know that these meetings did not bring yet the desired result. To bring about peace and overcome hatred and division, for by now it is already 70 decades. It takes a lot of effort. And therefore, our founder and UPS continuously makes efforts for the peaceful reunification of Korea. We never stop working until we reach our goal. But this event was called by Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon and bringing together 80,000 people in the World Cup Stadium in Seoul. And during this was part of a 3-day conference where then Mother Moon launched the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development. And we signed the resolution. Actually, it was signed by 400 religious leaders and faith-based organizations, parliamentarians, with the objectives to uphold the teachings and scriptures of the world's great religious tradition and to strive to embody those universal ideals that are espoused by our traditions and to work together for the common good. Also to overcome divisive tendencies that may emerge within religion and to promote dialogue, mutual respect and cooperation, to strengthen the family as a fundamental unit of stable societies, and to work together among all religions and faith traditions, as well as with leaders of government, civil society, and the private sector. And since then, regularly under the UPF auspices, religious leaders from around the world, including your distinguished leaders from Malaysia, have joined, like here. This was more recently, 1 year ago in the World Summit 2020 in Seoul, just before the breakout of COVID-19. But we also held regional IAPD inaugurations. And in Kathmandu, we inaugurated the IAPD Asia Pacific on December 1 in 2018. You might recognize your distinguished, most venerable Dhammaratna. Here you can see him. He led the Malaysian delegation. And we are very proud of all of you, because whenever the Malaysian delegates join our international events, you always make very remarkable contributions to the discussions and the proceedings. After the regional inaugurations, we also held national inaugurations of IAPD, as we are now doing here in Malaysia. Actually, the first one in our Asia Pacific region was held in Port Vila in Vanuatu, one of the small Pacific island nations. And in Nepal, the IAPD was inaugurated under the leadership of Honorable Eknath in October 2018. In India, the IAPD was inaugurated by very, very distinguished religious leaders. You can also see our IAPD chairman, Dr. Srivatsa Goswami. They are performing the Water of Harmony ceremony together, and this event was held in the Parliament of India, and the Union Minister, Honorable Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, was actually the chief guest of this event. In the Philippines, we had participants from 21 different religious sectors who all joined together to inaugurate IAPD Philippines. And in Myanmar, 3 years ago, they also, I guess they had the same idea that you have, that it would be a wonderful idea to inaugurate their chapter on the World Interfaith Harmony Day in 2018. So as you have already seen, that Malaysia has been continuously celebrating the World Interfaith Harmony Week since its inception in 2011, so have the various chapters of the Asia Pacific done so. I was very intrigued to see your beautiful celebration, for example, in 2016. In Indonesia, we celebrated the last Interfaith Harmony Week just a few days before the lockdown. And at that time, we were so honored that the Grand Imam of the Grand Mosque, the Istiqlal Mosque in Jakarta, he was our chief guest, Professor Dr. Nazaruddin Umar. And he mentioned that, you know, you cannot understand truly Islam if you don't understand the other religions of the book. And another chief guest was a special staff of the President's office, Dr. Ali Mokhtar Ngabalin, as well as religious representatives from all the different religions coming together. But we do not only celebrate the World Interfaith Harmony Week, we really try to support the various programs and peace initiatives of the United Nations. For example, we often celebrate the UN International Day of Families. Here you can see the celebration in Bangkok in 2019, because the family and strengthening and upholding the moral values of the family is very close to the heart of every religion. And you can see that with modernization and the secularization, many societies lose their religious fabric. And so we really want to work together to strengthen marriage and family. In Malaysia, you also celebrate the International Day of Peace. This is a commemoration in just 2018, and so do our chapters throughout the world. I was very inspired to see your interfaith educational visits, because it's so important to have direct experience. And when you go to the different religious sites and you see how other religions pray and their teaching, you realize we all pray to the same God. We all seek to connect in our hearts to the same God, our Creator. We might call him with different names, but still we can share common experiences. In Indonesia, we connected the interfaith visits actually with the Peace Road project. In 2018, we started at the Buddhist temple, and then we cycled to the Christian church, and the marchers were joined there, and everybody then went together to the Grand Mosque of Jakarta, where we had this beautiful interfaith harmony celebration, joined by the different religious leaders. Another project is the Interreligious Leadership Conference, a 3-day event that brought religious leaders from all over the Philippines together. And I saw many pictures and I remember, many of your Malaysian participants joining our Asian Leadership Conference. And when we celebrate the Interfaith Peace Blessing Festival, we always have our religious leaders giving their blessings, giving their prayers in their own tradition. But during the last year, we had to go online. We had to focus on virtual events. And so now our Asia Pacific Leadership Conference is a virtual conference, and you will recognize Datin Jayanti Krishnan giving the special remarks in the very first batch. And now, as you might know, that Dr. Yong, our previous chairman of the Family Federation in the Asia Pacific, has been transferred to America, but now our new regional presidents, they are joining us for this event, and I really invite you to join our Asia Pacific Leadership Conference if you haven't done so before. We held throughout the year many virtual conferences and bringing religious leaders together. Like here, we talked about the role of religious leaders moving through and beyond the coronavirus crisis in the Philippines. And we had so many distinguished guest speakers. We had the Peace Talks series in Nepal focused on IAPD, as well as also in India and in many other nations. Here you can see another event in Oceania region. And then we had a 3-day international leadership conference, which began with an interfaith invocation of our religious leaders. And one of the sessions was solely dedicated to the IAPD. We were discussing about the perspective from religious and spiritual leaders, and you can see all these distinguished religious leaders from throughout Asia giving their thoughts and their insights. More recently, just in December, we had another IAPD webinar on the role of faith-based organizations in building a heavenly unified world. And that was participated not only by the almost 3,000 registered participants, but another 12,000 watched through YouTube and Facebook live streaming. And we are very proud to your Sikh professor. She did excellent in representing the Sikh perspective in this event, and she received many congratulations from other participants. So now very soon, and next Saturday, this Saturday, the Philippines is hosting maybe the largest event, an online event, where 1 million people will pray together for the healing of the nation of the world. They will host this event also in celebration of the World Interfaith Harmony Week. And we invite all of you to join in this grand event. Also our founder, Mother Moon, will give her message, besides the religious leaders will be joining. But even though our event today is not the largest event, it is very large. I'm so happy to see that you have so many participants from, I think you said 15 nations, but you are the first event, the first celebration of the World Interfaith Harmony Week in the Asia Pacific region. So I really congratulate you that you open the door to many other wonderful events. And please allow me at this moment to officially announce the launch of IAPD Malaysia.
Congratulations again for the launching of IAPD in Malaysia. May IAPD can foster the unity and harmony for the sake of peace development in Malaysia. So ladies and gentlemen, here mark the end of our first session. We shall have a group photo with a special guest from session 1. All right. Honorable and Adakal, we shall have a group photo. Okay. Smile. Okay. Thank you. Thank you and thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall have 1 minute of break. 1 minute of break. Thank you. See you again after 1 minute.
Thank you. Congratulations.
You.
Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we proceed to the second session of our webinar, which is the panel discussion. Today we have 3 eminent panelists will be with us today, and then this panel discussion will be moderated by Dr. Amir. First and foremost, let us welcome the panelists in the session 2. Starting from the moderator, Dr. Amir, the chairman of Interfaith Spiritual Fellowship. Hello, Mr. Dr. Amir.
Hello,
Okay, next will be, hi. Next, representing Interfaith Perspective, Dato Azman Azmin bin Hassan. Good evening, Dato. Okay.
Good evening.
All right. Then representing Women Perspective, Dr. Radia bin Salim from Singapore.
Thank you.
Good evening. Then representing Youth Perspective, Mr. Chin Hao Z from Penang, Malaysia. Okay, thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, during this panel discussion, if you do have any questions, you may drop us a message in the chat room. Any questions? Okay, now allow me to introduce the moderator for this panel discussion session. Dr. Amir Farid Ishaq is a medical consultant as Islamic and interfaith activist. He is a family man of 4 children. His interfaith activities include chairman of INSAF, Interfaith Spiritual Fellowship, the country's oldest running interfaith movement organization. He is an ambassador for peace as well, and also member of Board of Advisors of Universal Peace Federation Malaysia. He is also former member of the National Interfaith Committee under the Prime Minister's Department. So let us welcome Dr. Amir. The stage is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the very kind introduction. May I congratulate UPF for this program And may I also congratulate all the previous speakers for their wonderful and important messages. And may I acknowledge the presence of the VIPs and the leadership of UPF, and also thank UPF for inviting me to be moderator for this panel while we celebrate the World Interfaith Harmony Week and also the launching of IAPD. I have the pleasure of moderating three very distinguished panelists on the theme that we heard before, COVID-19, pathways forward, working together for national prosperity and happiness. And this is in conjunction with the UN World Interfaith Harmony Week. So the discussions that we will hear will be from three different perspectives. And starting with the first speaker, Dato' Azman Amin Hassan, and his topic will be the role of religious institutions, advocates for setting actions and change at the national perspective. But first, allow me to introduce Dato' Azman. He graduated with the BA Honors in Humanities from USM, University Science Malaysia, and his last post was as the Director General at the Department of National Unity and National Integration in the Prime Minister's Department. And then after retirement, then he became the chairman of the National Committee for the Promotion of Religious Harmony and Understanding amongst Adherents of Religions. And it was there that for 10 years that I was with him. I was in the committee throughout its existence. And through this role that he also then came to know many of the religious organizations in Malaysia, and through his role in the Department of Unity, of course, he was instrumental and got involved in many aspects of peace and harmony in Malaysia. And he had represented Malaysia at various international religious and discussions and dialogues. And just like me, he's also happily married with 4 sons, but he has 11 grandchildren and I have none. So let us welcome Dato' Azman Amin Hassan.
Thank you, our moderator, Dr. Ame. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I would like to talk on the topics COVID-19, the role of religious institutions, advocates for setting actions and change on national perspective. The COVID-19 is a human tragedy of the century. We cannot visit our friends and family members, not go to mosques, churches, temples, and gurdwaras and other places of worship as usual. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, the world has come to a standstill, so confused, since more than 100 million of the world population are affected, and above 2 million has died, and millions lost their jobs and still in a state of shock and confused. Time has come for our civil society, like the religious institution and leaders, to come forward to fight the battle with some other members of our civil society. What can religion and religious leaders do? Classical theories of modernization claim that secular values in modern society have massively replaced traditional and religious values. However, rather than declining, religion is growing and becoming more durable worldwide. Although churches are indeed empty in Western Europe, and the church building even go on sale, 70% of the population in North America identified as Christians. In Russia, where Islam grows rapidly, 84% of the adults says religion is important. Muslims have quoted the hadith that is speech and practices of Prophet Muhammad to promote quarantine and travel bans during the pandemic. Prophet Muhammad said, if you hear of an outbreak of plague in the land, do not enter it. And if the plague breaks out in a place while you are in it, do not leave the place. In Taiwan, religious leaders are collaborating with the government epidemic centers to respond quickly to the health crisis and protect the people. Taiwan is lauded as a leading example of a country with good COVID-19 management. There are some recommendations to be made to combat COVID-19. Number one is what they call Solidarity Malaysia against COVID-19. This is a national campaign where all religious groups come together as an act of solidarity, symbolically perform their prayer. The one-year campaign will be launched at national level through our national TV network. Beside the prayer, this campaign will contain a lot of intellectual discourse, beside counseling or motivational programs. Should be greatly intensified to meet the needs of our depressed citizens. Though the new media could easily prepare our fellow Malaysians to be mentally and psychologically strong. This action manifests our true bonding and solidarity and the love for the nation. Number two, reach out to the poor. In facing this period of uncertainty, the Malaysian government has given a lot of assistance to those who are direct. This was reflected in our budget 2021 recently, and another 15 billion was injected into our economy to lessen the burden of the beloved citizens. However, there are still people need to reach out, especially those in the interior and the poor who should not be denied of their rights. That's why we still hear cases like a housewife caught for stealing food and medicine from the supermarket in Petaling Jaya, Selangor. However, we are blessed with the act of our Samaritan, our policemen. They do food and other government, religious leaders and institutions has an important role to play to reach out to the poor by organizing charity works, organizing food banks, and giving away food baskets to the poor. And number three, assist COVID-19 victims. On the 31st January 2021, the number of COVID positive have reached to a figure of 210,173 people, while 173,209 cured and another 48,074 still undergo treatment. One of the emerging issues today is about those released from the hospital were not well received by their own families, feeling skeptical that they are fully recovered. They are not welcomed back home by their own siblings, but instead were to remain in the hospital. This is an important role, an important task to be played by our religious leaders and community leaders as well, to console and convince them amicably. Number four is to set up more quarantine centers. As the number of our COVID-19 victims are on the rise, more quarantine centers need to be set up soon. Since resources are scarce, help is needed from local religious leaders and community leaders, as well as our NGOs, help to set up the quarantine centers. Here, I would like to share the beautiful experience that take place in my kampung in Kota Baru, Kelantan. When the state quarantine centers request the Buddhist Suzi Malaysia helped to set up a new quarantine centers in Kota Baru. Everyone came forward to give their assistance. Buddhist Suzy, in collaboration with the 9 Chinese NGOs, and the Muslim presented by the Pusat Tarbiyah Islam Kelantan, Putih, managed to set up a new quarantine centers equipped with 140 beds, mattresses, blankets, and pillows. Hopefully, this will set a good example to others. My conclusion is, after 1 year of pandemic COVID take place, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. However, we need to be passionate about it because it takes a long time to see the results. And we need to remain vigilant with our SOP, MCO, and Interreligious to stay home, stay safe. Last but not least, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to all our frontliners who sacrifice their life and time to help us to live in a better place, Malaysia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dato' Azman. We heard from him that religion, not only our religions, not only provide us guidelines on how we should try to face the pandemic and try to avoid being a victim of pandemics. At the same time, our religions also have principles that encourage us to work together and go through the problems together and withstand the discomfort and the suffering together. And together, we become stronger. Together, we can go through many, many obstacles. And in the end, it is only if we remain together can we come out from this pandemic. The next speaker is Dr. Radia, and she will be speaking on the topic of the role of women, the heart, knowledge, and experience for building bridges. And you know, now at least 10 world governments are headed by women. And in the last 1 year, the world seems not able to take care of this pandemic. Maybe we have to rely on the women to take over. We'll hear from Dr. Radia binti Salim. I have the pleasure of introducing her. She has a degree in zoology, Bachelor of Science and honors in zoology, followed by diploma in education. And then with MBBS, that is, she qualified as a medical doctor from University of Sydney. Her previous degrees were from Singapore. And then after that, she had a graduate diploma in family medicine. And she is the founder and president of Club HEAL, H-E-A-L, an institution of a public character formed in 2012 to help people with mental illness regain confidence in themselves and others in their journey towards community reintegration. And then she, other than that, she has been active in community work, in the Services Committee member of NCSS in Singapore, a member of Tribunal for Maintenance of Parents, and present also member of the Visitors Board to Psychiatric Institutions. She has been invited as speaker on TV, for example, the Women Talk TV, and she has received awards from Singapore, Singaporean of the Year, 2017 SPH, and 2017 she received the Pingat Bakti from MUIS, the Majlis Agama Islam Singapore. So she is very much qualified to speak tonight. Dr. Radia?
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Thank you very much, Dr. Amir, for the very kind introduction. Good evening. Assalamualaikum. Peace be unto you, to all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm grateful that I'm allowed to share a little bit So I shall start by discussing about women. What do you mean? You know, the role, the topic that I've been given is the role of women, heart, knowledge, and experience in building bridges. So I would like to start with a very, very common proverb: the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And usually the hand that rocks the cradle are in fact women, meaning that the women who raise children determine the character of those children. And so these women influence the type of society that the next generation will create. So women are in fact natural caregivers, you know, even the types of professions and work that women usually choose, you know, in the areas of nursing, teaching, medicine, social work, counseling, women tend to gravitate towards this kind of professions because women are natural caregivers. I want to also share, I think most people know already, the word for womb in Malay or Arabic is rahim. And rahim itself means compassionate, kind, loving, merciful. So women by nature, you know, uh, compassionate, kind, loving, these are, and merciful, these are feminine characteristics that I think a lot of men do have too. Okay, going on to the part about building bridges, allow me to please quote from the Quran. In chapter 49, verse 13, Allah says, "O mankind, we have created you from a male and a female and made you into nations and tribes that you may know one another. Verily, the most honorable of you with Allah is the believer who has taqwa. Verily, Allah is all-knowing, all-aware." So the purpose of God creating us in various nations and tribes is so that we may know each other. This is where the bit about building bridges. So would it be wonderful if all our caregivers, our nurturers, our educators, build our young so that they grow up to be to a generation that want to know others, other groups of people, you know, interested in getting to know each other and loving each other. There's a Malay saying, you know, tak kenal maka tak cinta. To not know is to not love. So when you know each other, then you can start to love each other. Then can we have peace. I just want to share a little bit about my own personal journey as a caregiver and a bit about Club Heal, because I think there is some relevance to it. I've been a caregiver to family members and relatives, in particular to some who in fact have had mental health challenges. My older sister, my nephew, and my second cousin. And it is partly through my failure as a caregiver to my family members and relatives with mental health challenges that made me want to start Club Heal, which is an organization to help people with mental health challenges and their caregivers. So I, in fact, became a very accidental leader. I never set out to be a leader. You know, all I wanted to do in life was to be a doctor and, you know, look after my patients. That's it. But, you know, personal tragedies in the family made me think that more should be done for people with mental health challenges. And we need to build bridges between the community and people with mental health challenges. There's still a lot of stigma surrounding people with mental health challenges. People out there still don't really understand what a person with mental health challenges had to go through. A bit about heart. So in my case, I was moved by my personal experiences. So that's where the passion came to serve. And in terms of knowledge, I tried to build my knowledge in mental health by working at an Institute of Mental Health for a while. And in terms of experience, I think past failures on my part as a caregiver is a very, very important experience for me. My exposure to the mental health scene at the Institute of Mental Health and elsewhere, these are also very, very valuable experiences that altogether led to the formation of Club Heal. I just want to say that at Club Heal, a lot of our board members happen to be women too. And when I started it, I roped in my female friends from school especially. Many among our staff and volunteers are women. And at Club Hill, definitely we build bridges. We play roles in reducing the stigma against mental health challenges. The roles are played by everyone, but particularly people with mental health challenges themselves. They become mentors to others. They are also mental health advocates, and we groom them to be future leaders, present and future leaders. So that's all I have to share for tonight. Forgive me if I've, you know, is not well prepared, but basically that's my message. Women as caregivers, as carers, as nurturers, contributing towards love, cinta, and world peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Radia. There you have, she spoke from the heart. She certainly has a lot of knowledge in what she spoke about. And she had shared with us her personal experiences. And in all our works, it is the cumulative experience that make us more effective in whatever work that we do, whether it's working as a doctor, you and I, or in peace, in peace work, and in every field of endeavor. As we mature, as we accumulate experience, then with that wisdom, then our work will be more effective. So I think in building bridges, right, and in fighting COVID also, but all the countries are gaining more experience and becoming more effective. Thank you for the sharing. Just a point. I started by saying, by jokingly saying that if the women take over, then maybe we can solve this COVID problem faster. Then I remember that actually two of the best countries managing COVID are led by women. One is New Zealand, the other one is Taiwan. Okay. Now we have our third speaker. Now we've heard from the senior and we've heard from the women. Now let's hear from the youth, because they are the future, right, of this world. And to speak on the role of youth, the active participation of youth in nation building, is Mr. Chin Hao Zet. Now, this is a very, very, very active young man. You know, I look at his biodata, and he's only 25 years old. He's packed so many things in that short time. So I'll just mention a few, because otherwise I will take up all his speaking time. So Mr. Chin Hao Zet is a passionate youth activist that believes in building a sustainable, developed community through youth empowerment in line with the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals and the ASEAN Community Goals. Right, he's active in the Democratic Action Party, being chairman of the Georgetown Festival, Youth Ambassadors Program 2018, also currently Director of Political Education at the Youth of DAP, and plus many other responsibilities under that. Current Youth Chairman of Penang Hakka Association, and current Secretary of the Majlis Pengurusan Community Kampung Fetes Park. All right, ex-personal assistant to the Honorable Office of Botanical Gardens Constituency, Penang, ex-chairman of the Penang State Government, member of State Executive Council Board of Consumerism in the Botanical Gardens constituency, and actively involved in foreign regional governmental programs by being one of the selected and appointed Malaysian representatives in ASEAN and then FELAC, Forum of East Asia Latin American Cooperation, KAICI, the King Abdullah bin Abdul Aziz International Center for Interreligious and Intercultural Dialogue, WOMS, World Organization of Scout Movement, etc., etc., etc. I'm sure you're going to be hearing a lot more of Mr. Chin in future, because at 25, he's already got that, that impressive CV. Mr. Chin?
All right. A very good evening to all our fellow guests of honors, especially to Mr. Sudesh, Honorable Ek Nadakal, His Excellency Mr. Stephen Prisner, Mr. Lai Kon Ping, Mrs. Ursula McLachlan, Dr. Amir, Dr. Asman, and Dr. Radia, all our panelists. I've seen that there's a lot of very good presentation of all our speakers for this wonderful evening, and coming to the last speakers of the day, I'm going to speak about the active participation of youth in nation building. Before I begin, I'm going to share with you a case study of what my team and I has done throughout the whole entire MCO period, beginning on the 18th of March 2020, currently and also future. And to Joseph from Singapore, I hope that you can use this particular case study to answer your needs towards on how to recreate a peace, interreligious dialogue, having a very good passion, and connecting you through the means on how you can actually collaborate with your own Singapore government or constituency in the future. Okay. First of all, today's topic, I'm going to break it into like 3 main points. The first main point is I'm going to share with you on the roles of youth and students during the current pandemic and post-pandemic, which is from 18th of March 2020, which is the beginning of lockdown in Malaysia, until today, which is under the post-MCO period. Secondly, I'm going to share with you is on the role of youth in promoting multicultural partnerships. And last but not least, the usage of social media as a catalyst to promote peace and sustainable developments. Okay, so during the pandemic season, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my good mentor, Mr. Nick Ng Shulin, who is also the Secretary of Universal Peace Federation of Malaysia. A very active participation with him throughout the whole entire MCO period. You can actually see him in the orange color t-shirt, if those of you have known him. So what do you need to have? What's the means? The spirit of volunteerism. What's volunteerism? That means that you must have the willing and passion to actually work out things. And when you say that, it must be go on beyond the boundaries. So like I've mentioned here is that we need to participate and collaborate with various grassroots NGOs, non-governmental organizations and local authorities, both from the state and federal agencies to distribute basic necessity food aid for the B40 communities. B40 means that they're actually from the below 40% of the community that's in Malaysia living in urban poverty and also rural poverty. Now, how do we do this, Joseph? Actually, you're asking a very good question because I'm presenting this to you also. First of all, when this pandemic hit, I actually get the inspiration from one of my squad leader from the North District of the Malaysian Civil Defence Force. He told me that they are having a lack of manpower and they need some manpower to assist them in distribution of goods. And we actually did a fundraising program. Throughout this pandemic program, as you know, that during MCO period, there's a lot of people close their own shops and we can't really get their basic necessities. So instead of like raising funds, we told the NGO saying that don't give us money, but you give us the basic necessity like vegetable, fresh chickens, fishes, and etc. And throughout the whole entire period until today, we have collaborated with various agencies like the Penang State and North District Malaysia Civil Defence Force. I believe that in Singapore, you call it the Singapore Civil Defence Force. We also work together with my own government agency, which is known as the Fetispa Village Community Management, or in Malay, we call the Madis Pengurusan Community Kampung. We also work with multi-religious NGOs such as Caremongering Penang, church group, another NGO known as the Methodist Crisis Relief and Development, the Royal Malaysian Police, and also the Welfare Department to check their data and to distribute all the basic necessities evenly. Okay, so third point is like, where do we derive all these principles from, and like why should the youth be so informed and be so passionate about helping the rest of the community in our society? Firstly, I came from a missionary school background. I studied in St. Xavier's from Standard 1 to Form 5. And one of our patron saint in our school is actually St. John Baptist de La Salle, a very famous saint. If you're from the La Salle community in Philippines and Singapore and the La Salle East Asian district, I think all of us will know that our main motto and goal is to touch hearts and transforming lives. Okay, so second part of this topic I'm going to talk about is the role of youth in promoting multicultural partnership. You need to be a multicultural person regardless of race and religion when you assist people. During MCO period, I was very fortunate to work with a group of Eurasian from the left picture. They was actually caring and giving us basic necessity. In the middle picture, you can actually see that we are working together with the Malaysia Civil Defence Force. And on the right side, my friend, Mr. Dash, the guy with tattoo, actually cooked some vegetarian food to distribute out to the community who are living in urban property in Batu Bukit. You can see a lot of people lining up in the picture behind. We also work together with Methodist Crisis Relief Development and the Penang State Government in the middle picture, and we also distribute it to village areas, food. So from these principles, I would like to derive one of the very famous person known as Saint Francis of Assisi. He's one of my greatest inspiration, which leads me into promoting multicultural partnership, or in other words, the promotion of intangible cultural heritage, of like how we continue to sustain all this sort of heritage and community grassroots connection throughout the whole entire MCO period. Saint Francis used to say that we need to preach the gospel at all times. When necessary, use words. It is no use walking anywhere to preach unless our walking is our preaching. So it's no point for you to speak every day and you're not doing whatever you're speaking. I think a very good role model for us to see today is the Ustaz Ibit Liu. He has been doing a lot of charitable work, and he has been also doing a lot of food aid distribution, giving out steps and electricity bills to assist all the hardcore poor community. So we need to set aside our boundaries, all right? And last but not least, in my presentation, I'm also going to share with you like how are we going to help these people? You need to have an empathetic and a willing heart to serve. In this every single picture that you see in my slides, you can see that we actually went to the village, and we also give out vegetables on the right side. Sometimes during this MCO period, I went to the extent, especially the picture in the middle, is like I work together with a few authorities to assist motorcycle hit and run victim who actually very sadly passed away when I was actually assisting him on the spot because of too much bleeding. So sometimes you need to stop by the road to assist these sort of victims during MCO period, because like nobody can come out and we do not know what will happen. So if you want to serve, you serve with a willing heart. Whether this thing is too extraordinary or is out of the context from whatever you can serve, I hope that I can inspire more youth to come and join me. Yeah. And also, I hope that y'all can come and join your own local grassroots community NGOs, also in Universal Peace Federation across the country and around other member states who are together with us. And finally, another thing that I want to talk about is the usage of social media as a catalyst to promote peace and sustainable development. Okay, you can actually use social media to post out things to create awareness. Like during the beginning of MCO, when we are actually working together with Ministry of Health and also the Civil Defense, one of my colleagues actually posted out a video in one of our government group chats in regards to like how do we actually treat a dead body patient who actually passed away from COVID-19. I posted this link on 30th of March, and it actually has a total of around like 12,000 reshares and 1,100 reactions. So sometimes you need to create awareness among your community to engage more people to do what they think it is right and to do like what they think it is necessary to assist the local community. We also created a Facebook group through Caremongering, an NGO, whereby we centralize all the basic necessities that is around Penang, so that there is no overlapping of distributions of basic necessities given out to the same recipient multiple times, and this could be put into good use. Throughout the whole entire MCO period, we actually assisted 10,000 families for approximately of 3 months from March to May 2020, with expenses of around like 1 million ringgit. It's a very hefty expenses, but thank God we have a lot of good Samaritans who are actually assisting us, and we are working together with various government agencies to partner up together to bring out these basic necessities to ensure that all these people get the thing on time. So this is my very short presentation. I hope that you guys could be inspired from the things I've just shared with you, a very short case study on how you can be actively participating in your own grassroots community if you're planning to assist in COVID-19 pandemic. So yeah, like I said, in the pathway forward, working together for national prosperity and happiness, I will end by telling all of you that change starts from you and me. You know, without you and me, nothing could be changed. Change from the community, it creates a ripple effect. And when you create a ripple effect, you can inspire more and more people, be the light of the world. Thank you very much. If you have any question, feel free to message me. My contact is on the slides. I'll pass the time back to our moderator, Dr. Amir Farid. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chin. So you can see what I read about his CV is genuine. Yeah? He's actually very active. You can see from all the activities that he does. You can see the vast difference between the youth and well, the not so young. I can count at least three things. Number one, they are young and full of energy, and that's what we need. You know, every organization needs energy, needs the youth to run around and get things done. Number two, they are full of fresh ideas. There are old people, sometimes they're stuck in their time zone, in their old thinking, and cannot think out of the box. And number three, which is very, very important, is that the youth, they are internet savvy, they are up to date with all the latest technologies, and these are very essential in all kinds of work now, whether it's religious work, peace work, development work, you name it. You need social media, you need internet, you need all the latest technologies, and even in business, you know, all the billionaires, the latest billionaires are all those who are capitalizing or making business on these new technologies. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have been fortunate tonight to have three very good panelists sharing three different aspects that affect our lives as we want to move on, get out of this pandemic as fast as we can. And until then, we have to not only manage, we have to still try to prosper during these difficult times. But it takes a lot of hard thinking, hard work, and I believe a lot of sincerity and a lot of help from the divine, where we need the religious people to continue their prayers for all of us, the whole world, and for the women with their hearts, right, to continue help us build bridges and come up with ideas that the men who have been running the world may have not thought about, and the youth to push us to the new level. I would like to thank the three panelists, not only for their important sharing, but also for being kind enough to stick to their allotted time, even though we are way past the original schedule. I am told that we can still take one or two questions. I don't see there any questions there. So in that case, I will hand over back to our handsome MC. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to our handsome moderator as well, Dr. Amir, and also to three of the panelists for sharing with us a very great, meaningful, inspiring insights and all the information. This is a true experience from them. So we have really a lot of things to take back home tonight. So thank you so much. And our webinar seems to come to the end. Let us have a group photo with the panelists. Okay, so smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, everybody looks gorgeous. All right. Okay, next move on to the announcement. Announcement time. Before we officially end our webinar, our Peace Talk series tonight. Announcement. Okay. For our upcoming webinar, okay, we'll be having another featuring on business leaders, the role of business leaders in economic recovery. So this will be our another Peace Talk series, and then it will be held next month. So ladies and gentlemen, you can get your calendar and mark onto your calendar. All right. Next, second activity would be Rally of Hope of Philippines. So this is an international event organized by UPF Philippines with the theme 1 million people praying for the healing of the nation and the world. Indeed, in this pandemic crisis, we do need prayers. So ladies and gentlemen, if you do have time, please register yourself and be part of the prayers. Next, UPF Peace Talk webinar feedback form. So ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate if you do have spend some time, okay, to fill up the feedback form for us so that we can serve you better in future. So you can just grab your handphone on your hand, yeah, and then you can just scan the barcode in front of the screen. Spend some time. Okay, so I think that's the announcement from me. Okay, last but not least, on behalf of the Committee of Universal Peace Federation Malaysia, I would like to thank to all the organizations, to all the individuals from all around the world who have been contributed in one way or another to make this webinar a success one. So a big thank to all of you who happen to be here in UPF Malaysia. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you again in the next upcoming event. So bye and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for attending.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
You.
Thank you to all international speakers. Thank you all panelists. Thank you our moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From Kelantan, Penang, from every places, we're looking forward to collaborate with you guys again.